Global Uplift was formed in the year 2000 in Salinas, California as a local nonprofit organization. We based our efforts in humanitarian aid as well as disaster relief locally across the United States and internationally. In January of 2001, India was struck by an earthquake as well as a tsunami. So our team got together and we decided to send some of our volunteers to help administer first aid, begin reconstruction, as well as just to support the people.
While in India, the governments involved did not know how to make things happen faster, how to cut the red tape. So the process took way longer than we expected. So those of us who were there created other aid projects while we were there. As an example, we ran a medical clinic while we were there because they had no access to medical services. We happened to be proficient in advanced first aid and were able to provide a lot of assistance to the community. We helped the school get reorganized, restocked.
One story in particular that stood out when I was in India for the tsunami was the children and the resilience of the children. How I heard the stories that, you know, they lost parents or they lost siblings, but yet they said, well, I still have another brother, or I have another sister, or I have my mom. And, you know, just to continue on after what they had gone through, it was just an incredible, the stories that they could tell firsthand from the victims. And just to see these people, that it meant everything for them to have life go on, even though they lost family members, and they appreciated so much that we were there trying to help them continue in their life.
I had come 12,000 miles, halfway around the world, and I was washing this woman's foot so that I could apply the antiseptic to it. And that just moved me more than I can possibly describe, but it's the one experience that stands out and epitomizes what happens to all of our volunteers when they go on these trips. She had a cut on her foot which was infected, and I was cleaning it with hydrogen peroxide. And this feeling washed over me that it wasn't love from me to her or her to me. It was like the tent that we were in, an open air tent, was just filled with love. And it was just, I was so moved by that one experience. Every trip is just chock full of moving experiences for me as a volunteer.
I was contacted by Peter Shaw, who knew of my work as a hospice chaplain, wanted to talk about that because the tsunami had occurred and he wanted to quickly send some people there. And so I talked about my work as a bereavement counselor, and he said, I think I'd like you to go. And I did, and I was delighted and happy and fulfilled with our results over there.
In 2005, Hurricane Rita and Katrina hit the South, and our volunteers went to assess the situation and find some holes that needed to be filled.
Well, another example of how Global Uplift works is that when I was sent to New Orleans, I worked with the head of the Red Cross disaster relief team, and she took me around to all the organizations that were already there doing work, and which gave me an opportunity to see where, if any, were there holes in service. One of the things that became very obvious in the largest trailer camp, which is just outside of Baker, New Orleans, is that they had a huge community tent for meetings, and different organizations would come to offer services. They would talk about how they could apply for benefits under FEMA or job training benefits, etc. But there was no sound system. So it was hard for a large group to take part in that. As well, music really is, I discovered, the soul of New Orleans and the soul of Louisiana. And I heard people singing that just made me break out in goosebumps. But they had no place where they could actually perform. So we took some Global Uplift money and bought a sound system fairly inexpensively for their central community tent. Now, when they had people come in to help them find avenues out of this trailer camp, out of their poverty, they could actually hear it. And in addition, in between, their lives were made a little bit brighter being able to have church services or singing groups, community entertainment that meant so much to them. It was a small cost, but it made a huge difference.
After Hurricane Katrina and Rita, again, and that was in October of 2005, I again asked to volunteer and through Global Uplift, go back and help in Louisiana. And a friend of mine from Monterey and I were sent to Lafayette, Louisiana, and we set up kind of base there in a Walmart, and we had a few of the cash register stations opened up personally just for our people that were coming through. And so for the first 3 days we had people come through and we're providing food for them. They were given a designated amount of money that they can purchase food items that they needed that were essential for their rebuilding of their lives. And then after the third day we decided we would venture out into the more rural areas and again try to find that grassroots global uplift venture where we want to go and help people that kind of fall through the cracks. So we'd go into these small little communities and go in and find a policeman or someone with authority and just say, what can we do for your community? We're here to help. And they would say, well, we need cleaning supplies. So we would rent a truck and maybe have to drive 100 miles up north and find a store that wasn't devastated and just buy out all of their cleaning supplies, then bring it back and have it handed out by, again, a sheriff department or the police department. Then we were able to move on the next day and go into another town, and they may have said, we need generators. So we'd find generators and bring them back so they can help clean up their homes, the homes that weren't completely lost, but they were filled with water and mud. So we did that for about 4 to 5 days, and after about 8 days we returned back to Salinas and to tell our stories. And again, just see what you can do with this small amount of money that people are donating, and it goes a long ways and help build these people's rebuilding their lives.
You know, there's a lot of red tape involved, and there was no red tape with Global Uplift. We just go in, find out what needs to be done. We nose around and meet people and talk to the locals and talk to the local police chiefs or the local ministers or the local teachers, and they will tell you what needs to be done.
The trailers, which were uninsulated, and surprised to me that in New Orleans it gets below freezing in the winter. I see it as a warm southern state. I was wrong. The elderly and the handicapped had a hard time coming up with the money for the propane, which was used to heat those trailers. So I got the propane dealer to sit down with me, and I told him I had $4,000 to spend on propane, but only if he was willing to negotiate a lower price on the propane. Global Uplift is not a big organization, nor do we have staff, so we couldn't be there to administer it. So we worked out with one of the other charities, which was there 24/7 to administer it. We paid the vendor of the propane, who would provide free propane to elderly and handicapped. The other organization made sure that they were properly in need, that met the criteria. And the program was so popular that when our $4,000 worth of propane, which we had negotiated at a lower price, when that ran out, the state of Louisiana saw it was so successful, they picked it up and did it for all of the trailer camps.
Hey, you over there, stand all funny in your underwear. What does it matter?
We had the tornado disasters hitting the Midwest and the South, and we gathered our Global Uplift organization together and decided to focus on Joplin, Missouri. And so we sent our Reverend Wayne Martin to go to Joplin. And so Wayne interviewed people. He found a few organizations there that we never would have known about otherwise, some grassroots organizations that just do a wonderful job helping people. So he was able to give some money to those organizations and personally, on a one-on-one basis, get to know some of these people and really know that they were going to use this money in the best way.
Well, there was a massive tornado, and about a third of the city was flattened, and it's still working on its recovery. But I met about 25 people there, and we gave money to about 23 of them as the need seemed to occur and to occur to me.
Home, a TV show with shoes wanting a toe, and those times we had were times.
Basically, I tried to assure them that God doesn't do this to people. These things happen. We live in a universe that's wild and tempestuous, just like what's inside us gets a little wild and tempestuous. So I worked to help them take, in a way, God and themselves both off the hook and understand that nature is nature.
In March of 2011, Japan was hit by a massive earthquake and tsunami. So our team met up and we decided to raise funds and send money because of the radiation risks and the health risks for sending our own volunteers.
Again, I was asked to, this time, assist in a more of a leadership position locally with Global Uplift in raising funds to send to Japan. The foundation decided that because of some of the risks of radiation, that we would break one of our cardinal rules, which is that we send people with money, not send money.
What we did was we collected $1 a piece for wristbands and also had a public service announcement which was able to reach a broader audience, and we also had a little concert at the Alternative Cafe, which they donated their space and time. And with that, we raised it over $10,000, and we distributed it to 2 different churches, which was they were able to buy kitchen appliances, food, and bicycles, just necessities that they no longer had.
Global Uplift finds the niche and makes things happen very quickly.
We're not a Red Cross, we're not FEMA, but yet we're an organization that can go in and start helping people in a small way and work on up. So any little bit helps, so it's got to start somewhere.
With Global Uplift, I have the opportunity to take my money and go with it and make a personal difference in someone's life. And it doesn't matter whether that person is a member of my state, my community, my nation, or lives across the sea. We're all brothers and sisters, and I get to be personally connected with them and see what difference my contributions have made.
To the people that we're helping, it's a huge, huge statement that we're making from our little organization in Monterey County that we can make a difference around the world, and we do.